If you're a boutique retailer and you think you need to limit yourself to fashion, you need to think again, because carefully curated homewares and fragrances can really elevate your basket size and boost your profits. Today, it's all about independent fashion boutique owners. And they're out there and they're thinking, how do I grow my business without losing who I am? And this is something linked to a column I recently wrote for Boutique magazine. And it's why boutiques need to actually think beyond fashion. And of course, boutiques aren't just fashion clothing, they're fashion homewares, but they tend to be a higher price point, something a little bit more luxury. It's in the name, isn't it? Boutique. It stands for something that feels just a bit more sexy than going down to Poundland. But the response has been really interesting. And a lot of owners are saying, I am struggling with working out how I can generate more revenue, higher basket size and higher margins. The column was all about getting that message out there, but today's episode is about making it practical and showing how it really works on the ground. So to help with that, I've invited Steph back. You'll probably remember her from earlier episodes, our e-commerce and search engine guru. But before that, Steph owned and ran a beautiful boutique homewares and gift shop and was both in-store and online. So she's lived it. She's handled the cash flow, margin, suppliers, the breakages, the postage costs, and the real reality of independent retail in-store and online. So today we're going to look at how Steph can give some advice to other boutique owners in that sort of thoughtful, joined-up customer experience that makes people come back again and again. So we're going to unpack what works, what doesn't, how homewares, gifting, and fashion are accessories to growing your business rather than distracting from it. No fluff, honest and commercial insight. Welcome back, Steph.
Hi, Claire. Thanks for inviting me back again.
So your boutique isn't just a clothes shop, let's say. It's a world, a mood, a point of view, a place where customers come to feel special. And they like to feel special because boutique says it's about quality, taste, and curation. So why would we limit that world to just fashion?
Well, exactly. People get very nervous. I'm thinking that if they move into homewares and they're moving away from fashion and then they're no longer a fashion boutique, they're moving more into a lifestyle shop. But homewares, once they match the aesthetic, the customer and the price point, it really feels cohesive and it's like an extension, if you like, of that part of the story rather than an add-on.
And I think that obviously is the key, isn't it? It's knowing your customers, knowing what they love and why they come to you. And so you know that they already appreciate that aesthetic, that experience and the taste. And for example, extending into a fragrance line to supplement whether it be a room fragrance or a personal one or homewares, it's, if done right, it should feel natural and they can trust that that product that you're curating for them translates into commercial growth. If we wanted to really put that under the microscope and look at the commercial case for homewares in traditional fashion and boutique retailing, what would you say was the reality around that?
So the reality is that fashion is a really personal experience. So your fit, size and style is very obviously personal. So buying for someone else can be really tricky, but homewares removes that friction. £120 dress might make the customer really hesitate, but if you're adding on a candle or a jewellery dish or a blanket, something else, suddenly that feels quite easy. And actually, they're almost not buying that for themselves, they're buying that for their home, and therefore it's an easy add-on. Average order value can lift without adding extra customers. Gifting is really huge. Candles, trays, throws, they're all quite thoughtful gifts and still personal, but they're also low risk in the fact that you haven't got to worry about fit, size and style. And they're nice things that can make people feel really special. So people leave happy because they've either found a gift that they can give that they're proud of or something that fits in their home in their own style, doing the whole, I'm buying this for me. It's buying it for their home, so it's slightly different.
It's almost like buying a gift for the house, isn't it, really? Yeah. And I think it's really important from a brand perspective as well, because something like, the lovely scented candles or the reed diffusers, I was given one as a gift, and then the next gift the lady bought me was a refill for it. And it sits there pride of place on my mantelpiece. And it also means that when I open the door to the living room, it smells beautiful. But it also smells like the shop that she got it from. So it actually might help me and others who use such devices keep front of mind and make me remember the shop more than any sort of social media ad or pinned post on Instagram ever could.
It's scent, I always say, is the sixth element when you're in retail. For my store, when I had my own line of diffusers and scented candles, but also come Christmas, we used to supply lots of orange and cinnamon decorations. And people always used to comment when they said literally, as soon as they got out of the car park, which was kind of 100 yards from the door, they always said, oh, we could smell the shop. It's amazing. It draws us in. Now, obviously, that was quite a strong scent. But yeah, it's bringing that scent memory back is a really powerful thing. And particularly if you can have your brand label on it as well, it's a double win, really.
And when you come to extending the range and making sure that there's products there that perhaps add that incremental value to the customer, you have to get your pricing right and you have to be able to mirror the core range. So obviously, we use things like good, better, best, where the good might be impulse buys at a modest price point that's easy for gifting. Better might be a little bit more considered purchase, somebody a little closer. Best might be more of a treat yourself, something that makes a statement, makes you feel really good about yourself, or it might be for someone extremely special. So I think it's really important to remember that when extending the range in boutique retailing, things should also still be accessible, because if somebody is spending a couple of £100 on an outfit, let's say, they might not have the budget to go much above £30 on an incremental addition to the basket at the impulse point of sale, but they might go that far. And I think the accessibility is really important whilst also protecting the margin.
Absolutely. So like you said, it's the good, better, best. So you're good, you want your till point pickups. So your lip balms, your candles, the soaps, the tiny little things that are sort of 10 to 25, £30 that people don't mind spending that as a impulse. Sort of moving up to your better range, you want something that's sort of more your diffusers, your larger candles, throws, that sort of thing, which are probably your gifting section. And then on top of that, obviously your premium best section is a real kind of indulgent treat yourself. That should feel extra special. So your statement cushions, your premium fragrances, all those sort of extra special parts.
And would you say that that's really important as the add-on for a boutique customer? Because obviously you don't shop boutique unless you're expecting to spend a little more and get something a little more luxurious. Do you think these are really important add-ons that actually it's a fail if boutique retailers of any category are missing out on?
I think you're leaving money on the table if you're not adding this in, because people already know, like, and trust you. And it's, again, adding value almost to your customer base. It's an extra styling tip that extends beyond that outfit. Come summer, you might do sort of tablescaping and that sort of thing, with the candles, with the outdoor cushions, that sort of vibe. So you already know the colours of the season, the trends that are happening, where you're at in the look that you're creating. So again, you can extend that slightly by making those stylish add-ons for your home as well as yourself.
There's an operational reality check here, isn't there? Because homewares aren't going to be easy money. Nothing is these days. Stock ties up cash, it takes space, and there's other considerations. Glass breaks, so you've got packaging costs, returns if things get damaged, and in every part of retail, suppliers often can let you down, and you have to turn the stock. I mean, you don't want just cushions knocking around gathering dust or throws over sofas. And also, it's about making sure that you're not just decorating the store for the sake of it looking glamorous. It's dead cash if that stock isn't moving.
Alignment is everything. So you've really got to have a curated, carefully put together range. And as you've mentioned, particularly if you're bricks and clicks, posting out a jumper or a coat is one thing, but posting out a glass candle is a completely different ballgame. And you are going to have that extra packaging and possibly extra courier costs as well. So that's something to really consider. Also, obviously, returns. Your returns will be much less with homewares than they are with fashion. Statistically, it's about 20% less, I think. But your minimum order quantities will still stand with your suppliers. So again, it's stockroom space is key as well. Because again, cushions, candles, glassware, etc. takes up a lot more space than clothing. It does need to be a really carefully considered project. It's not just we'll give it a go and see how it works out.
It's interesting you pick on returns there. Only this week, I hosted a panel at the delivery conference all about returns as part of the customer experience. And we talked about returns where there's been a problem. So I've sent out a glass candle and it's coming back because it's got smashed in the post, versus the way that fashion works. One of the panelists was from a major UK fashion brand. And she commented that people often buy 2 or 3 different sizes in 2 or 3 different colours with the intention of making significant returns. And they have to build that into the cost. And of course, returns cost a lot of money. But returns where it's damages causes attrition, whereas returns where it's, I just ordered all this stuff so I could try it on at home in my own natural lighting with all the garments I've got in my wardrobe, is just the expectation. So I suppose in that case, it's something that people really need to bake into their profits and consider the cost of returns for the different types of items that they're selling. But then you've got the other argument about something you touched on, brands versus white labeling as well. So are people more inclined to buy brands, or are white labeled products actually better from a profit alignment point of view?
I think it depends on where you're at in your brand journey. If you have a strong brand and you're very well known, even if it's just within your local area as opposed to nationally, I think white labeling makes complete sense. You've got your advertising, your brand name sat in their home, looking at them from the candle or the room fragrance, etc. And it also makes it a unique product. So therefore, your margin is much better than buying in. But obviously your initial outlay is obviously also much bigger. You can't really do a trial run. It has to be something, again, that you're really aligned with, you're really committed to, and you're willing to make that investment.
Yes, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because the suppliers of own brand expect you to make fairly significant minimum order quantities, whereas the brands might be willing to be a bit more flexible, even sale or return. I mean, we touched on it earlier. One of the things that I've been thinking about is in the physical retail, particularly, but also it does translate to a point online, because merchandising e-commerce is the category flows, the navigation and so on. But merchandising in store is about that massively visual engagement, and often less is more. But also the use of scent and customer experience. You talked about the scent and the aroma. And when you walk into a really good boutique, you feel a bit like a celebrity. And you can just look around, and if you're their right customer, then it feels like you're at home, because the lighting, the layout, and everything is quite emotionally engaging. Whereas, I'm not going to lie, I'm far too old to be shopping in H&M. The lighting is too brash and the music's too loud. But some places with subtlety and soft furnishings and so on, I feel very at home. And I think that's really important, isn't it? To understand the customer, the demographic, and tap into them emotionally.
Absolutely. When you can talk to the customer about the scent that's in the shop and say, oh, actually, this is one of our own range. You've turned the whole ambience and feel of the shop into a product, and you've cracked that magical experiential retail that we're always banging on about these days. So yeah, it reminds me actually, when many years ago in the 90s, one of my first retail jobs, I don't think I've ever told you this, Claire, was in a very high-end men's boutique, fashion boutique. And we used to, and back in the day, and again, I'm talking 90s here, so bear with me. We used to retail Armani jeans, which were quite rare in those days. Yeah, so we used to sell these Armani jeans in Peterborough for over £100 a pair. But our boutique, I was the Saturday girl, the boutique used to burn sandalwood incense.
Oh.
We also had a random parrot that used to live behind the till. We had 2 parrots that were identical, and they used to take it in turns each day to do a different shift. But that's a different story. But this sandalwood incense, people used to love it. And again, by the till, we used to sell pretty much anyone that came in went out with some sandalwood incense. And that was a men's boutique in the 90s.
But it's funny, actually, you've triggered some memories for me, not least that I was the person that couldn't walk past the Body Shop back in the day because of the aroma. And I'm talking late 80s now, when a gang of girls go out shopping for the day. And then it was later in my daughter's era, it's probably Lush because the smell. And that reminds me of what you said when they could smell your shop with the cinnamon and orange. And it is something that sort of turns the head. It's that thing that they say, when you can smell fresh apples and cut grass and things, that people get emotionally attached to that. There's also the thing with boutiques, isn't there, about zoning. So you have to create the feeling that I can imagine this in my home. So whether it be tables full of beautifully presented gifts or lifestyle corners or seasonal edits, if those visual cues help customers understand the story, I guess they're more likely to buy. And particularly in maybe independent furniture as well, where you only maybe buy a sofa once every 8 to 10 years or whatever, or when you move house. But you might buy cushion covers, throws and accents seasonally to sort of update the look and feel of your home. So they're all very valuable, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's about creating that lifestyle and that vision. No different to if you're dressing a mannequin, you accessorize. It's exactly the same with your homewares. It's creating that story that people can really understand and translate into their own home. So they might not buy the entire look, but they might pick 2 or 3 things out of it that they absolutely love and will take those.
Yeah, I do find that's really helpful because my imagination goes as far as an Excel spreadsheet. I can't style myself for love nor money. I need somebody to say to me, using the mannequins or people who bought this might like to buy that. I need somebody to direct me to put an outfit together, which is very sad but true. That then takes me to that sort of whole hybrid of online and in-store, because in-store, somebody might be able to do personal shopping for you or help you style or help you select things that go together. Online, obviously, you have the ability to put together cross-sales bundles, seasonal things, gift suggestions, and it complements fashion perfectly for particular events like Christmas, Mother's Days, or whatever it might be, a seasonal refresh. But for me, I find it difficult to shop online unless it's for basics. That I just know that leggings are leggings, for example. Whereas if I want to buy something to wear to speak at a conference, that's much more stressful. I'd rather go into a shop and have somebody talk to me and give me some suggestions. So how do you, and especially talking from the point of view of, the retail champion e-commerce guru and all-round generalist, greater SEO person, how do you translate what you can do in store to online sufficiently successfully to deal with someone like me who's quite a nervous shopper, to be honest?
Again, it's creating that story and that lookbook, if you like. If it's a homewares upsell that you're looking for, again, it's maybe picking on a colour or a theme or a season and doing that as an add-on. Like you say, it might be a bundle, it might be a gift edit. And again, it's creating or making sure that that is taken across your website. So it's not just at the checkout, it's as part of your blogs. If you're talking about outfits, your social media, it's adding it in to a look, whether that's on a photograph or a reel. It's about making sure it's a complete picture as opposed to a afterthought. And I would say start small, test, and test again. Speak to your customers as well, particularly if you've got a boutique store that you have those repeat customers coming back time and time again. They are going to tell you what they want if you just ask and then listen. Their feedback is invaluable, as I'm sure you know, for buying next season's stock. It's no different with the homewares. Again, finding out what they know, like and trust, the other brands that they aspire to, and go from there. And then scale really deliberately and really plan it out as a extension of your brand, not a add-on.
You talked about outfitting. Now, that's something that came up in the podcast I did with Francis about Pinterest and how people can create pin boards of all sorts of different bits and pieces from boutiques and build whole outfits and then shop them in one place through the integration that they've got through to tools like Shopify and so on. So it's really interesting how all of these small and independent retailers can knowingly or unknowingly collaborate with each other to also create outfitting and to recommend one another. And I think perhaps, and our colleague Kim would attest as well, that the future for small independent businesses across high streets is that ability to collaborate and recommend one another and to help each other sell. But certainly the impact of visual search has become very interesting in terms of driving traffic to e-commerce. And have you seen much of that with people you work with?
Well, you triggered a memory for me then. When I had my homewares store, strangely, one of the things we stocked was gin. And that was the fact that we had a local gin maker, and she was starting out and I helped her design her store. And we were chatting about her store. It was only open as a bookable event space. It wasn't a shop as such. And she was looking for a retail outlet in town. So I said, well, I'll stock your gin. I like gin. So yeah, after a little while of paperwork for licensing, etc., we started to stock her gin. And the amount of people that came in the shop and bearing in mind, I had been going at this point, my shop had been there, I think, for about 6 or 7 years. The amount of people that came in to buy gin that said, I've always driven past here, I've never been in. But they made a special effort for the gin and they started coming back again for other stuff. It was a very unusual collaboration, but it worked really well for bringing that extra footfall in.
So, I mean, in wrapping up, I guess everybody's already got customers and footfall and loyal customers. And as long as they collaborate and have a strong brand, then things like in a fashion boutique, for example, homewares and fragrance aren't a distraction. In a gifting and homeware boutique, gin isn't a distraction. They're clearly a growth lever. So done deliberately, they make your business stronger, more profitable and more memorable.
Absolutely. It's what boutique retail is all about, isn't it? It's about creating those experiences that your customers love and they're really unique. So they absolutely remember them. And that's what that keeps them coming back.
So I think the resounding message is test in small batches, protect your positioning, make sure everything is aligned to the brand, not to ever forget that being deliberate in your strategy beats random, throw it at the wall and see what sticks every time. Thank you so much for joining me again today, Steph. Steph Briggs, one of the Retail Champion team's e-commerce and SEO gurus, but with a background of running a successful independent retail boutique business. This has been Clare Bailey, the Retail Champion, and you've been listening to Retail Reckoning. Yeah.